I think one of the things that we thought we'd talk about this evening is the rather more personal aspects of, why an architect decides to do what he or she does, what the influences are. So I'm going to kind of take you on a little bit of a circular journey back to the beginning. And what made you decide to go back to Lagos after working with OMA for 10 years? I mean, was it a sense of duty, if I can put it like that? Or was it the sense that there were more interesting opportunities to be had on the African continent?
Well, after working with OMA, and during the work with OMA, I kept going back to Lagos, going back, traveling back to Africa, and I kept seeing the gap widening in a way, between what I was learning and my experiences in the rest of the world, and the kinds of work that were being produced on the continent, and I thought there were so many opportunities to actually fill the gap, with very little effort, with very little help, very little skill set. You could actually make an important leap. So for me, it was really about trying to bridge this gap between what I understood as, let's say, a certain standard of architecture and what was possible and what was, existing on the continent.
And I mean, you grew up in Kaduna, which is in the north of Nigeria for people who don't know it. And on the spectrum of African architects, you fall bang in the middle between someone like David Adjaye, who was brought up largely in European capitals, and Francis Kerry, who grew up in a village in Burkina Faso. And is this something that you think about?
Yeah, I mean, I think certainly my background has been a strong influence on my architecture. I grew up in a sort of suburban part of the country, which is not quite a large city, but really somewhere between a city and a small township. And I think it's had an influence on just the way I see the environment. And I grew up with a father who was both an architect, but also somewhat a farmer. And he cultivated his immediate, he had a farm, we had animals, we had gardens, and I think that had a huge influence on my architecture.
When you decided to move back to Lagos, what was the most difficult thing you encountered and what was the most optimistic?
One thing about a place like Lagos compared with, or cities in Africa compared with many cities in the rest of the world, is that everything sort of meets resistance. Everything has friction, So you want to work and there is no electricity, and then you decide, well, okay, I'm going to make a call to fix that, and then there's no network, and then, okay, well, let me get out of the house, there's no petrol. Learning to overcome that sort of resistance and that sort of friction is an incredible skill, training, and I think that's very useful, just being in becoming very resilient and relentless. And I think that's the kind of attitude one needs in surviving or doing any kind of work on the continent. You have to be relentless. You have to, if you make that call, if it doesn't go through, you don't stop there. You
keep on
you
going,
try to send a text message. If it doesn't go through, you send another one. You find someone else's phone and you pick it up and you find. That's why people carry 2-3 phones in this place, because one network is not working, and it goes on and on like that. And I think that's such a valuable skill. But the most important thing is that we don't talk. We don't. It's not about talking. It's not about having. It's very easy to have great ideas, but do it. Build it. Go there. Make it happen, and let people come. And let people criticize it, and we're really happy to get all these criticisms, because it is a learning, that's where you learn. And that's why we built it in Venice, so that people that don't have access to Lagos can also go to Venice, and you can be critical, and we can actually take that feedback, and we're going to do the next thing.